Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we're once again messing around with this Necrodominance shell that I've been working on a little bit. I played a fair few leagues with it last year, and a few other people have picked it up since then and innovated on it, and I've seen some people playing the old Death Shadow and Shadow of Mortality in it, so I'm curious to see how these feel, and I'm going to try them out. So, what is this deck trying to do? Well, we want to put Necrodominance into play as soon as possible, and then draw pretty much as many cards as we can, and then play things like Soul Spike to gain some life back, and Sickening Shoal, which can remove creatures, but also, if we have this Ancient Cellarspawn in play, then every spell that we play that we pay for less than its actual mana value, we get to deal damage to our opponent, or sorry, life loss, I believe. So if we do a Sickening Shoal pitching this Shadow of Mortality, that is 17 damage through the Cellarspawn. Pretty sweet. We've also got an Unmask and Thoughtseize, so we can mess our opponent's hand up, and Unmask also works into our little Cellarspawn plan here. And I've seen some people running Cruel Bargain in this slot. Now, it's my opinion that the One Ring is a very messed up Magic the Gathering card that should hopefully be banned. So we're going to play the messed up card because I've been really impressed with how the One Ring works. So we're running this. We don't have Shouldered today, which is something that I've really enjoyed in these decks, but we're just going to see this sort of build that other people have been running. I've tweaked it slightly to put the One Ring in instead of Cruel Bargain, and I want to see how it feels. Now, obviously, Cruel Bargain makes it a lot easier to cast things like Death Shadow, but quite often these Death Shadows are just going to get pitched anyway, but I have been in situations where I've been beaten down by these, so I'm curious to see how this all plays out. It's relatively straightforward, this build. I do like being mono-black as opposed to the green-black build that runs the Iname of Death's Aspect or something like that it's called. So we get Shadow of Mortality as our big black card that costs loads of mana that we can dump into a Sickening Shoal. We've got a few double-faced cards here, so we've got some Boggart Trawlers and Fell the Profane. These are just black cards that are also lands. These can hurt us in terms of getting our life total lower for Death Shadow. The Death Shadow build that I looked at before had 4 Cruel Bargains here, and it had 2 more Swamps and had less of the double face, so I think this little swap around should do enough. Sideboard-wise, we got some Graveyard Hate, we got some more Graveyard Hate, we've got an Orcish Bowmasters, and we got some Null Rods for these decks that can go underneath us. So we're basically just trying to get rid of the stuff that goes underneath us and then push through everything else. That is the deck. It's probably not going to be the longest of leagues today. This deck pops off pretty quick or gets crushed pretty quick, generally speaking. But there's a lot more play to it than you'd initially think. Alright, please remember to like and subscribe, and let's get stuck in with some Necrodominance action. Alright, what does our opening hand do? It makes a turn 2 One Ring with discard backup. I will keep this. Our opponent is Larson. They are very good at Magic the Gathering, and they often play Cephalid Breakfast. I will deploy a Swamp and pass. So this Death Shadow is likely to go into the Unmask, but we'll see. Feels like we might be on a breakfast matchup here. There is a Ponder. Alright, so they're not going to try and kill us on turn 2 unless they have a Lotus Petal. I can't remember if he likes to play the one-of Lotus Petal or not. Some people do, some people don't. So I'll play this Swamp. I will Unmask. And I will pitch this Death Shadow. I don't really want to have my One Ring Force of Will here, but they are representing quite a bit of stuff over there. I think we nail the Force of Will here. We have 2 turns of One Ring before we have to worry about Teferi. We can probably find some disruption by then. Take the Force. Ritual here. So if we Cabal Ritual here, we go up to 5 mana, which isn't really going to make any difference. So we're just going to play this. Let's get the One Ring down. Let's draw our free little card here. A Sickening Shoal. Okay, so now we have interaction with their combo. Planes into the Illusionist. Sure. This isn't a problem until they have something to pair with it. Soul Spike. We're pretty close to killing our opponent here. Not quite close enough, though. So I will drop a Thoughtseize into our opponent here. We want to get rid of the Teferi, most likely. They have a Nomads. We can just kill the Nomads. Sorry, kill the Illusionist in response to them casting the Nomads. So I think I want to hit this Teferi. And then, do we need to kill this now while we know it will resolve? I think so. So we will... I think we get rid of the Fell the Profane here. We should be hitting another land. Right, so this will mill them for 3. And next turn we get to draw 3 cards plus our draw step, because the One Ring is pretty messed up. Ponder from our opponent. So by hitting the Cephalid Illusionist there, our opponent knows that they're not just going to straight up play this Nomads. Obviously they're still playing anyway, but they know that they should be pondering and manipulating their library first. So they have this blind library here because they shuffled off the Ponder. Okay. Death Shadow, not really the one we're after right now, but it's a black card. Necrodominance, Unmask, a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, let's unmask our opponent here. I will pitch I think it's just going to be this Death Shadow. Is it Death Shadow, or do we want the Necro here? Alright, we'll pitch a Necro. We have 2 Necros. Okay, so the Force of Will is annoying for what we're trying to accomplish right now. So I guess we take the Force of Will, leave them with Brainstorm, Brainstorm, Nadu. And then I think we cast this Cabal Ritual into this Necro. So we know that we have 4 more life than we have. So if we go to 1 life here, then we have this 1 ring is going to put us down by 3, but this is going to gain us 4. And we're going to kill this. So we should be fine going to 1 life here. How much damage do we have is the next question. We have 1 Soul Spike, 2 Soul Spike. Okay, so we have to Soul Spike this, and we will pitch a Thoughtseize and a Shadow. No, the Shadow's pretty good here, actually, isn't it? I'll take out a Boggart Trawler. So we'll spike this up there. Alright, and then we're going to spike again. We'll get rid of this Necro we don't need. And I'll get rid of this Fell the Profane. I don't know if we would have drawn less or not. Maybe. I don't think we're casting anything else here. Let's go to cleanup. I don't think we need these 1 rings. Having another 1 ring doesn't hurt, but I don't think we need it right now. We should be winning the game next turn. So we get rid of both of those. We definitely don't need this many shadows. We probably don't need Thoughtseize if we have the Unmask anyway. And would I like to keep this land? We're probably drawing a land off of our 1 ring. It's statistically likely. So I'll keep the Death Shadow. Alright, Brainstorm from our opponent. But we can cast Cellarspawn into Cellarspawn. And then our Unmask deals 8 damage. And then all we need to do is find anything. And we've still got Sickening Shoal. Sickening Shoals can target our own creature, and then the trigger will still kill them. Right, so we don't draw a card for our turn because of Necrodominance. That's how that works. But we do draw cards because of the 1 ring. So let's put some bird encounters on it. There we go. There's one of the lands I mentioned that we'll probably be drawing. So I will cast a Dark Ritual and a Cellarspawn. I will cast a Dark Ritual. I'll cast a Cellarspawn. This cost takes 1 less. Maybe we're not supposed to Dark Ritual that one out. Right, so let's fire this off. Our opponent to deal 8. We'll take this Brainstorm, leave them with the Narcomoeba. And so now we're in a bit of a weird situation. We do need to draw some cards here. I guess we don't have to, because these are lethal. If we just play this out, we don't draw any cards at end step. Yeah, we don't need to draw any cards at end step here. We could try and win the game right now, but I don't believe our opponent can win the game with what they've got going on. So I'm just going to try and beat down, and hopefully we'll get to do some Death Shadow victories here. Because they can make 1 blocker. At best, they can make 2 blockers, which means we're going to rely on our 1 ring. Right, so we're going for the Narcomoeba rather than making an Urza Saga construct. So we go to 2, then we draw 5 cards, and hopefully that should be able to put the game away. Our Death Shadow is quite large. Our opponent has lost connection to the game. Hopefully they'll be back soon. Right, they're ploughing our Ancient Cellarspawn. So they're not dead on board. No cards on our opponent's hand. I'll play this Swamp out. I'll play this Cellarspawn out. Pings our opponent for 1. And then I will Sickening Shoal, then Narcomoeba, pitching this Shadow of Mortality to deal maximum damages. Okay, we got game 1. Not a bad place to be. What do I like in this matchup? Orcish Bowmasters is useful. The Graveyard Hate is also useful. Graveyard Hate is more useful because the way our opponent probably wins is by going off underneath us. So I don't mind having access to this. But we do still need all of our hand disruption. Death Shadow is bad against Swords to Plowshares decks. So we'll replace the Death Shadow with some Dauthis and Leylines. I don't think we get to remove the Shadow of Mortality because of how much it allows us to ping. But maybe this is just not necessary. We just don't need to ping that hard if we're disrupting. So maybe we'll try like out with the Death Shadow package, in with the Graveyard Hate package. I don't think we get to also add in the Bowmasters here. They're not trying to like wheel and stuff, it's just cantrips, so I think that's okay. Turn 1, Thoughtseize. Turn 2, Dauthi. Yeah, this seems fine. It's a little bit fairer, but once we get the Necrodominance popping, then we're all good. Right, so just playing out this 100, this is going to sit around and play and threaten things like the Brainstorm to protect against what we're doing, which is okay for us, I guess. So we'll pay 3 life, yes. I will Thoughtseize here. I need to make sure that our spells actually resolve. Yep, so here's the brainstorm, just like I said would happen. This is not our opponent's first rodeo. Just a force of will. Okay. Our opponent has some lands in hand. So we can fire off a Dark Ritual into a potential daze here. I don't hate that though. If they have a daze, it sets them back so they can't make a Saga Construct. Let's go for this Necro. Okay. We're going to draw 14 cards here. No half measures allowed. How many Soul Spikes did we find? 0. Certainly not the number I was hoping to find. Okay, so we don't need this many One Rings. We don't need more Necros. The Thoughtseize is looking a little on the precarious side. We don't need multiple swamps. Do we need multiple swamps actually? Probably not. These Cabal Rituals are just +1 mana, but that's not actually too bad for us. We're in a bit of a pickle here. Are we just going to be playing out a bunch of dudes? Maybe we're just in playing out dudes mode and then have a One Ring. Do we even need the One Ring? Are we just locked in with what we have here, maybe? Maybe we are. So next turn, we go 2 mana. This takes us up to 3 mana. This takes us up to 4 mana. So we make 2 Dauthi Voidwalkers, and that is our plan to win the game. Land, Ritual, Land, Ritual, Ritual, Dauthi, Dauthi. Alright, it's a plan. Big swing and a miss on free spells there. There is an island. Alright, Cabal Ritual time. Cabal Ritual time. Dauthi. Dauthi. The issue we have is the Urza Saga Construct just kills us, right? Yeah, our opponent sees it. We're dead. Yeah, we just had a big whiff there. Maybe we're supposed to keep hold of the Cellarspawn because it can block. I think I like how we sideboarded here, though. Our opponent's seen a bunch of the things we sideboarded in. Okay, this is alright. We start with the Leyline, so we don't have to worry about our opponent comboing us on turn 2. It's just the Nadu combo we have to worry about. We can play a tap land. We don't need to worry about Death Shadow, so we're not lowering our life total anymore. And we can just curve Dauthi possibly into Ancient Cellarspawn and then Necro. Shuko. I said no to your graveyard opponent. They can't daze here, so it would have to be a force. So they haven't got planes. So they can't kill us this turn because they don't have a graveyard. But they could. They can't cast a Nadu next turn either because they don't have blue or green mana. So that's pretty good news for us too. I'll play this pre-combat. Monoblack beatdown. Here we are. Because this maybe makes our opponent want to plow this instead of our Dauthi. Right, we're getting a force pitching a Cephalid Illusionist. Understood. No land. Alright, we're in good shape here. Let's bash. I'll deploy the Necro. Go to end step. I'm going to draw some cards here. Haven't quite worked out how many. But by sequencing out that way, it means our Necro would have been more explosive and just won the game if we had the Cellarspawn. So they had to counter it, which means our Necro slips through. I'm going to draw 10 cards. Alright, let's Soul Spike our opponent. This and this. We got the GGs. They F6 when they shouldn't have. Alright, I'll take that. Let's go to round 2. No starting mana for this hand, so we're going to have to sling it back. This hand is kind of fair. I don't like playing fair. I think we want to have a One Ring or a Necro. Okay, I guess we keep this and we bin off probably the Death Shadow. Is it Death Shadow or the... this is obviously nuts with our Cellarspawn. But if we get beaten down a bit, we can just Death Shadow our opponent. So we could just bin off a Cellarspawn. Oh, we have to bin off 2, don't we? Yikes. I think we're going to bin off the Shadow. The Shadow of Mortality can just give us a win with the Cellarspawn at some point. Dark Ritual. Are we just dead on turn 1? Or are we in the mirror match? Dauthi Voidwalker. This doesn't impact us. We're getting Thoughtseized. They can take the One Ring and then get the One Ring back with their Dauthi. Alright, 2 cards just to make a Dauthi. I'll take that. If we Thoughtseize our opponent gets to Dauthi us. Gets to Thoughtseize us. But I think we have so many payoffs now, it doesn't matter. Dark Ritual, Dauthi Voidwalker, Vampire Hexmage. How do I feel about my opponent having a Merit Lage at some point? Kind of awkward. I think I just want to take the Dauthi. So if they crack the Dauthi to Thoughtseize, they can't just put whatever they take underneath the other Dauthi. Because if they just play Dauthi here, Thoughtseize us, and then take the One Ring, then I don't like that situation for us. Sure, it leaves us slightly exposed if they draw exactly Dark Depths, but whatever. They can remove the counters from our One Ring with this Hex Mage at some point. We can also kill a Marit Lage in our deck with a big enough Sickening Shoal. Well, we have to use 2 Sickening Shoals, but that's still fine. So here comes the Hex Mage, yeah. We do need like a Ritual here or something. A Soul Spike. I don't hate the Soul Spike. Are we firing off the Soul Spike now? It costs us a lot in resources. I think we just take the hit here again. Because if we can draw, let's say, a Ritual and power out a Cellarspawn and then Soul Spike, then all of a sudden, you know, we can deal ridiculous damages and completely change the race. Right, so this is sideways, so it doesn't get back our Thoughtseize, which is good news. What is this? A Dark Ritual in the damage step. I don't think this is when you want to cast this, opponent. I think our opponent has made a mistake here. They're doing this in damage rather than second main phase. And they can't wind back on the Ritual now. Yeah. Happens to the best of us. Alright, what do I need to be worried about here? Was that going to be Helm of Obedience? Perhaps. Okay, so we have a second land. Helm of Obedience, Helm of Dominance. I can't remember which name it is. I think it's Obedience. So, what do we want to do here? How much does this cost? Cost X less. X is different. So this costs 10 less. This currently costs 5 mana still. Wowzers. I'm trying to think if we want to Soul Spike this now. Because if our opponent... I guess they would need to have a Ritual here. Because if we kill this, they will turn it into a Thoughtseize, and that isn't great for us. But last time they attacked first, so I'm expecting them to attack first, and then we can decide if we need to do something. Okay, so I have a Dark Depths over there. That is an awkward one. Yeah, they're coming in with both of these. Take a bunch of damage. This doesn't fly, even though it looks like it should. So we can use the One Ring to buy ourselves a turn, potentially here. So this is 7 damage. We didn't draw the Ritual to use the One Ring to buy us a turn. This is... If we play out the Cellarspawn, this is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage. That is not enough, and we don't gain enough to dodge the Dark Depths. If we play the Necro, we only get to draw 4 cards. So at best we can do 8 damage with another Soul Spike. Do I want to show my opponent what we're playing? I guess we could Necro into enough stuff to kill the Dark Depths. Alright, I'm going to give it a whirl. We might be able to kill Marit Lage if we draw into the right 4 cards. And maybe when we're doing all this stuff, our opponent makes a horrible mistake and forgets to make their Marit Lage. Unlikely. A second Soul Spike, so we can gain 8 life. No, we're just dead to whatever our opponent... Well, I guess we're not dead if our opponent forgets to make their guy. Yeah, they're making the guy. Alright. Okay. What do I like here? I don't think we need any of these things at all. The only thing that might be useful is the Null Rod. Our opponent showed us Lotus Petals. They probably have Helm of Obedience / Dominance, whichever one I can never remember the name of. Do I want to have some Death Shadows in our deck, or do you just want a few Null Rods to say no to them just comboing us out? Alright, we'll try like this. I think we need some Rituals or something to go alongside this. We're going to mulligan. Okay, this is good. What are we putting back? It's probably the Null Rod here, isn't it? The Null Rod obviously hurts our own plan with the One Rings. So not ideal on that front. But generally speaking, we'll be using that as a way to stop our opponent from killing us when they get near the ability to do so. So this is a turn 1, Boggart Bog, Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, Necro, Thoughtseize, Leyline of the Void. This does nothing to us. Good. Makes our Cabal Ritual worse, but it's going to be worse anyway. Pays for your life, yes. Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual. And we'll Thoughtseize first, just in case we have like a random Mindbreak trap. They've mulliganed really deep here. Okay. I don't seem to have very much going on. How many cards am I going to draw? I think 10 is reasonable here. Right, so we can Soul Spike our opponent here. We'll get rid of this Thoughtseize. Our opponent's shown us they don't really have anything going on. Pitch this at Fell the Profane. We're going to clean up. I think we get rid of a Swamp, and a copy of the One Ring, and then it gets a little tricky from here. Maybe it's the Sickening Shoal. No, I'll get rid of the Fell the Profane. So our opponent is very far behind here, but they are doing some powerful explosive stuff. I'm not going to Necro this turn. I'm just going to pass. The next turn we can Cellarspawn and Necro. Our opponent's not really doing huge amounts of stuff. They're unlikely to be able to remove our Necro. Basic Swamp over there. We've got 2 cards in hand. One of them is Thespian Stage. Surprised I didn't play out the Thespian Stage. Just better than a Swamp there, surely. Let's play our little friend. Just go to clean up. Sorry, to end step. We're going to clean up. I'm going to draw 8 cards, I guess. No, they might have Orcish Bowmasters. I'm going to draw 7 cards. This doesn't really get us anywhere, does it? Obviously, we can do some One Ring stuff. We'll keep the Death Shadow. It's big and beats down. We don't need this Boggart Trawler. We don't need this Thoughtseize. I guess we don't need another copy of the One Ring. Oh, we don't need this Null Rod. And we'll get rid of this One Ring. The old Null Rod One Ring combo. A classic. There's a Thespian Stage. 3 mana. A Barrow Goyf. This is not a problem for us. It's only a 1/2. This will go into our exile, so it won't pump the Barrow Goyf either. What is the play here? I guess we Sickening Shoal, target this, pitching the Unmask. We dome our opponent for 4. We bash for 3. We make a giant Death Shadow. I'm still not going to go down to 1 life here because our opponent is running Orcish Bowmasters in their deck most likely. And now we just have lethal damage. Our 11 power guy is living that Dreadnought life. Very close to being the Phyrexian Dreadnought. Alright, we don't know what's in our opponent's hand. They got 2 cards. Are they good enough to get out of here? Fatal Push obviously cleans up a bunch of our stuff. They don't have it. Excellent. Okay, maybe I'm sleeping on these Death Shadows a little bit. Maybe we do want them. And then we'll bin off some of these Shadow of Mortalities instead. Maybe I don't want these Null Rods as much as I think I do. Alright, we'll try that. There is definitely some tension with the One Rings and Null Rods being in the same deck. I won't lie. But sometimes the One Ring is just a thing that gets you to the Necrodominance. And sometimes it's obviously the thing that just wins the game for us. Okay, we have Hand Disruption, we have Creature Kill, we have a massive draw spell. We get to keep 7 finally. Excellent. Basic Swamp. Lotus Petal. Another Lotus Petal, right? We're putting a lot of resources into something. Into nothing, okay. Sickening Shoal. I think I want to Unmask pitching Sickening Shoal. Our opponent played out a bunch of resources and didn't do anything. So they've obviously got something that costs 4 mana that's worth playing here. We're just going to see a Bowmasters. It is the Bowmasters. That's what our opponent's working with. Just a Vampire Hexmage. Are we trying to kill this right now? I think so. It just saves us damage, doesn't it? Get rid of Fell the Profane. Next time we can Cabal Ritual into Necro. Every point of life we save is a point of, well, is a piece of card draw. And they also showed us the Bowmaster that we played around last game. They didn't have it, obviously, but I'm glad that I read the situation correctly. I drew a Hexmage off the top. Okay, so we take 1 damage here. Soul Spike, you say? I will Cabal Ritual out this Necrodominance. And because of the Soul Spike, I think I'm going to go all the way in on this. My life gain in my Death Shadow deck. Beautiful. Perfect deck design. 17 is plenty of cards. I'm going to Soul Spike this. Pitching. I have many Shadows of Mortality. I'll get rid of this Fell the Profane and this Thoughtseize. That gets us some life back. Do we have a Sickening Shoal here to go with our Shadow of Mortality? We don't. So if we... How do we want to actually play this game next turn is the question. I think we just want to make some life here. So we could kill this so that we don't die to top decked thing, but we don't gain the 4 life. Do we need the 4 life is the question. Can our hand win without the 4 life? Probably. Okay, we will cast this, and our opponent will sacrifice as a response so we don't gain any life. We don't need another Necrodominance. We don't need an Unmask. So they should sacrifice this so we gain no life. Don't make a mistake. Oh wait, they made a mistake. Even better for us. Okay, so then we go to clean up. I guess we get rid of this Null Rod. We get rid of a land here. Probably get rid of 2 lands. Maybe 1 copy of the One Ring. Do we need any copies of the One Ring? Probably not. We can just make a bunch of friends next turn. So Ritual, Cellarspawn, land. So maybe not the... Maybe we have 1 less Cellarspawn and 1 less Mortality. And then we get to keep a land. Okay. So we should be on less life right now. Because they could have fizzled our spells so we don't gain their life. But I'm obviously very happy with the position we're in. So if I Cabal Ritual this out, that gets us a Cellarspawn with 1 mana floating. Is that 1 mana with like 1 swamp going? Is that worth having? Or we just want more black cards? What would that 1 land do? 1 mana do for us? I don't know. Let's just play this out. Go to end step. We'll take 8 because we are... I guess if they have a Bowmaster, we are just dead to it, maybe. Actually, that's not true. If they have a Bowmasters, we can maybe win over the top of it. Alright, do you have a Bowmaster? They had to Bowmasters before the trigger, actually, don't they? Did we draw anything that actually helps us here? No. Interesting. So, Thoughtseize is no good. We don't need this Null Rod right now. We can play a couple of massive shadows. That seems good. The Cabal Rituals are just worse than our Dark Ritual. I don't really like the One Ring here either, as weird as that is. Alright. We have a way of winning the game. We should have kept the Null Rod, I think, just in case, because that's probably how we lose this game. Oh, they didn't play a threat to kill us. That is useful. So this costs 2 mana. These cost 1 mana. So let's... Oh wait, this Shadow of Mortality is going to deal damage, isn't it? Because it costs less. So we dome them for 13. And then we play out a couple of shadows. We should have kept the 2 Shadow of Mortalities here. They got the Bowmasters. 3 mana here. Opposition agents. Okay. Just a guy. Play another guy. Play another guy. Maybe we should have gone to 2 instead of 1 so that we could play around Bowmasters. Will our opponent trade here? Probably. It doesn't matter to us if they do. That is taking the 3. We're going to not draw any cards here and hope our opponent doesn't draw Bowmasters. We definitely should have gone to 2 instead of 1. I think that was just a mistake on our part. And if we lose, then it's on us. A Thoughtseize. They still have 1 mana in their pool. Don't believe this 1 mana is going to make the difference here. Alright, we managed to win the match there. We did make a misplay, I think. Shadow of Mortality pinging for a bunch of damage off the Cellarspawn is the first time it's come up. It's pretty cool. Let's go to round 3. Okay, we have a little bit of acceleration. I think this is fine. I don't know if we want to Boggart Trawler as a land. I think we want to be Wasteland Priest. I'm just going to go Swamp Thoughtseize. I suspect our opponent is going to Brainstorm and protect their hand here. But we'll see. We're at least forcing the use of the fetch land. And we do still get to take a card, most likely. Oh, a Spell Pierce. I got absolutely blown out by Spell Pierces the other day. Is this going to happen again? Lavinia. What? What? Main deck Lavinia against my deck that is specifically hosed by Lavinia. What is this? My opponent has seen me coming, I believe. Let's Thoughtseize our opponent, I guess. Jeez. Don't really want my creature getting ploughed. Don't really want them casting Stock Up either. They can either cast Stock Up or Plough Upon. I guess we take the Stock Up. I hate this. Yikes. Let's play my land tapped. So our Cabal Ritual does nothing. Unless we have more lands. It helps us multi-spell when we have lots of lands, but that's it. Because... this Lavinia... We need to find, like, Fell the Profane and enough mana to cast it. We can just stick a body in front of it, but they can remove it. Tamiyo. Yeah, that's good too. Lavinia. I think I would like my Cellarspawn to take the hit here. We're not casting spells for free, so this isn't very good. It's just a 3/3, so it can roadblock the Lavinia. It'll probably get the plough out of our opponent, which means the plough won't be on our Death Shadow, which means we can have a bigger creature later on. 1 more land, and we get to play the One Ring, which is obviously an incredibly powerful Magic the Gathering card that we can hopefully ride to victory. A Wasteland is devastating. Playing Stock Up and Wastelands is a bit bold. I think our opponent is going to absolutely slaughter us, though. They've only got 1 card left in hand. Okay. Can't cast a spell if no mana was spent to cast it, counter it. Each opponent can't cast creature spells with mana value greater than the number of lands that player controls. So we can't pitch cast this, and if we can't ramp out the X cast of it. Alright, but we have a plan. We'll take a bunch of damage, and then we'll play our Death Shadow, then I'll get Swords to Plowshares, and then our opponent will win the game. It's a solid plan. Just keep drawing lands, please, opponent. No, please, deck. We just need the lands. Oh, Lavinia, you are somewhat problematic for us. Yeah, so they've got these clues. Like, they're probably in the mode where they don't want to flip the Tamiyo, they just want to keep using it as their own little Howling Mine until they've gassed all the way back up, and then they can flip the Tamiyo later and turn it into specific cards by buying back, like, the Spell Pierce, the Stock Up, the Plough, whatever. Our opponent is in an incredibly commanding position. All because of this 1 card, Ponder. I understand why they're running it, though. Like, it's going to be good against a bunch of, like, blue decks. It's also pretty good against, like, Oopsal spells and things like that. A little bit slow, but it's still fine. It's something you would board in if you had it, so having it in the main deck makes some sense. It's very susceptible to removal, though. Alright, now they're flipping the Tamiyo. They've decided they have enough cards. Now they just want to tick this up until they can draw all the cards. Or maybe they want to get back like a plow or something. Or a Spell Pierce. A Sickening Shoal. Yep, pretty sickening. A Wasteland. Right, I've had enough. I don't think we need to play this one out anymore. Okay. Do I want to pivot into some like Bowmaster or Voidwalker action? Honestly, I don't think so. The only one I'm kind of interested in is the Bowmasters here. I'm trying to work out what the Bowmasters replaces. Like, this is going to be very hard to cast, even though it does some Sickening Shoal stuff that can be good. It can set us up for random turn 1 wins, but I don't think that's how we're trying to play this game. If we're on the draw, if we're on the play of that game, we get the Thoughtseize and hit the Lavinia, then the entire shape of that game is different. Okay, I'm going to have these Bowmasters in because they can tangle with our opponent's Lavinia. Sure, we don't have the highest things to pitch to the Sickening Shoal, but we definitely want our hand disruption. I think we need the rituals. Maybe it's the Death Shadows, actually. And we keep the Shadows of Mortality for the combo potential because they have plows. So our Death Shadow is unlikely to go all the way. No starting land, so we will mulligan this. Okay, this seems pretty good. We keep this. We've got land and land. We're definitely keeping these. The Bowmasters we boarded in, we definitely want those. Probably the Cellarspawn that goes. It's the easiest thing to get undone. We won't play out the Fell the Profane straight away. We'll just play a basic because we know they have Wastelands. We'll Thoughtseize them. We'll take away one of their 6 cards. Hullbreacher, Prismatic Ending, stock up. Hullbreacher? I guess. We're sat here with a copy of the One Ring in our hand. We don't really want to get Hullbreacher. Our opponent's deck is mean. This is a very telegraphed Bowmasters. But we don't want to play it out straight away because of the Prismatic Ending. We're not trying to get our opponent. We're just trying to dodge this Prismatic Ending and actually get some damage into our opponent. I doubt this is worth pitching a Force of Will. Pitching a stock up to a Force of Will for. Another land. I will play this land tapped. So now the second Bowmasters feels a little bit less telegraphed. Because maybe we would have forced it through if we're going for damages. So they're probably getting Meticulous Archive here. And then what they can do is untap Prismatic Ending the Bowmaster and then Wasteland us off of this Fellmire. And that's pretty solid. Okay, they're going for a basic. Are they playing like... No, they can't be playing... Okay, so they have a plow there. They can't be playing back to basics in their deck, surely. 3-color Wasteland deck with back to basics. Okay, I'm going to play this One Ring while we can. Our opponent could have counter spells. Ugh, this Spell Pierce. Am I just super weak to Spell Pierce in life? Feels like it. It's nice seeing Spell Pierce. It's a really sweet card, but... Boy howdy am I taking some damage against it at the moment. So we're probably on Boggart Trawler beatdown soon. Stock up, yep. Pretty good. So we need to make a decision if we're playing the Trawler or the Bowmasters this turn cycle. But maybe we'll draw something like a One Ring. Are you just going to pending away our guy? No, they've got a Tamiyo. Necrodominance is pretty darn good. I'm going to attack with this Orcish Bowmaster token. If they block, then we kill the Tamiyo. They're not going to block. A sensible decision. Let's try this Necrodominance out. Let's go to our end step. I'm going to draw a lot of cards. Like 12 here. We'll go for 10. Just give us a little bit of wiggle room. So we get to cast a Dark Ritual here and a Cabal Ritual. And then we can Soul Spike away this, pitching... I kind of like the Thoughtseize, so I'm going to keep this Necrodominance. I guess we can get rid of the Thoughtseize and use the Unmask. Maybe that's our plan. And then we can fire off a Bowmaster. We know our opponent's got the ability to kill one of these, but maybe they don't have the ability to kill 2. I guess we didn't need to use the Cabal Ritual. Maybe we could have mathed that out slightly better. But that was a pretty solid turn for us. So we can Cellarspawn and Unmask our opponent. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage. Jeskai mana. What is this? Prismatic Ending on our Necro? Sure, that's fine. Necro's done enough work, I think. Now we get to actually draw a card. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So we can't play everything we want to. They got 2 cards in hand. I think I'm just going to jam the Cellarspawn. And then unmask our opponent pitching... Is it the Trawler? I think it's the Trawler, isn't it? So we dome for 4. We take a card. We bash for 5. And then our opponent is dead on board. Alright, let's scoop that one up and we go to the sideboard. Bowmasters looked pretty good. Let's just do that again. One land, very susceptible to wasteland, not really going anywhere. Let's mulligan. I'll keep this one. I'm going to get rid of one copy of the One Ring because it's the thing that might get stranded in our hand underneath a Lavinia. And I want to keep the answer to Lavinia. These are both answers to Lavinia, as well as just being good enough that we boarded them in for this matchup as well. I'll turn one Thoughtseize into their Brainstorm / Felpiss. Don't mind if I do. Okay. Wrath of the Skies, Force of Will, Force of Negation. Do I take the Wrath of the Skies and leave them without removal? It's very expensive for it to work. I think we take the Force of Negation here. The Force of Will does cost them a life. And the Force of Will... Sorry, the Force of Negation is something that they can hardcast here. And I don't want to give them that decision. An Ancient Cellarspawn. Sure, we'll just pass that over. If they cast some sort of ponder, we can force this force out of their hand. There's basic planes. What are we going to see here? A stock up. That'd be really, really good. It is a stock up. I'm going to cast it in response. This doesn't ping off this because it just looks at cards and puts them, but it's going to mean that they have to get rid of both Force of Wills if they want to answer this. Now, the chances are what they're going to do is just Wrath of the Skies away our creatures. But this does give us a little window. Get a little bit of damage in. They're going to have to tap out for this if they want to clean up our Bowmasters that way. I'm still reading from the main deck Lavinia in game 1. Sickening Shoal. Not the one we want, really. So I'm expecting a Wrath of the Skies this turn. And then we can try and him to Torak them using our Bowmaster. By making them get rid of Force and a blue card. But depending on what they put in their hand off that stock up. I'm just going for a plow here. I will play the end of turn Bowmasters. Right, so now they're brainstorming in response. Sure. Now we're just trying to force through little bits of damage so that if we actually get to the point where we can combo, it's more likely to finish our opponent off. But these are permanents our opponent has to respect. They missed on land for Wrath of the Skies, which is surprising. Right, we'll go to attacks. I'll play this, pay 3 life, and play the Cellarspawn. So our opponent can't Wrath of the Skies away everything, because they would need 5 mana to Wrath this away. So this might be worth a Force of Will to our opponent. It is. What are they pitching? Tamiyo. So they still have another Force, possibly with a blue card alongside it. We can kill a Lavinia with 1 more mana. Now they have the 4th land. Are they just going to snap it off and get rid of our Bowmaster? No. Blue. We played Counterbalance over there. Or am I just playing so much Counterbalance on the channel lately, my brain just immediately assumes... Oh, okay, it's a Murktide Regent with Force of Will, Wrath of the Skies, and 1 other card. So it'd be a good time to draw a big expensive black thing to kill this. Well, I guess. Minus 15 your guy? Do you have a blue card? Is a mystery card in your hand a blue card? It's not a land, so it could well be a blue card. Alright, we're in. So maybe it's not a blue card. Which means I'm feeling good about this One Ring. I suspect this is the Wrath of the Skies turn. We just kind of got to hope they don't have a blue card to go along with this Force. Although they did Brainstorm, so maybe they shuffled the Force away. It's possible. Yeah, the time they're taking to play this definitely feels like a Wrath of the Skies. Goodbye, friends. You did quite a lot of damage, so you did good work. A land. Alright, let's see if you have that Force of Will still in your hand with a blue card. This is a easy card to Force of Will. Okay. And a Spell Pierce. Okay. So they did have a blue card, but they didn't want their fight to be over the Murktide Regent. So now we're in top deck wars. We're down to only 3 lands though, so we can't just top deck the One Ring here. So on to Thoughtseize right now. Our opponent has 1 card in hand. What would that card be? I think I'm willing to take a look. I don't believe it's a land. It's a Get Lost. Okay. That destroys enchantments as well. Top deck wars. Our opponent has Ponder effect. Oh, Mystic Sanctuary is good here. Well, they're going to put stock up. Yeah. Yikes. That is very strong. Okay, we found a swamp. So we're live for Force of Will, but our opponent gets to select 2 of the best cards out of the top 5 here. Sorry, we're live for the One Ring, not Force of Will. Stock up, yeah. I wonder how many stock ups they're playing. Like in a deck like this, I don't think you can really play more than 2. Okay, we can't kill this unless we draw a land. Our opponent might have a Brainstorm. We didn't draw a land, we did draw a Cabal Ritual. Let's just get rid of this while we can. I don't want them drawing an additional card every turn, especially when we're at this stage of the game. We're just in the dregs. Our opponent has the mana to chuck stuff into it. They are also representing hardcast Force of Will. A Dark Ritual. This is the problem. Our opponent has Ponders and Brainstorms, and we have Dark Rituals and Cabal Rituals. So there's definitely some separation between the quality of our draws. They have 2 cards in hand. I will hardcast and unmask here. Like, we could save this, but it doesn't deal lethal damage. Force of Negation. Sure, we're just trading stuff out. Happy that we fire that off, because Force of Negation is one of the cards that can mess with us. Do they have another Mystic Sanctuary? If the answer is yes, then they should win this game. They did not. Okay, so they don't get to get their stock up back. Phew. Moldova an island. What is this? Blue. This feels like a Murktide region. The amount of time our opponent's spending casting the spell. We need to find the One Ring or Necrodominance. Pretty sharpish. Fine, I will fire off another one of these. I don't believe our opponent has a land in their hand. Take this Plough. Alright, this is a 3-turn clock, but a lot of the things that we need use our life total. So each hit that we take from this is a substantial dent into our strategy. But this has been a really close game. It's been a pretty good one. Okay, we have a lot of mana. So this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we can hardcast a Sickening Shoal on this Murktide Regent next turn, if we draw one. It's not really how I want to play this game, but a Thoughtseize. GG's opponent. That was a really close game. It basically came down to our opponent having Lavinia in the main deck, and that really ruined game 1 for us. Alright, on to round 4. Let's see if we can get back to winning form. Right, what do I like about our hand? We have 2 payoffs. We need more mana. I think that's a reasonable place. We have 8 rituals that just get us there on turn 2. And we've got a Thoughtseize to be getting on with. I will play out the Thoughtseize first. I don't want to get wastelanded on the first turn cycle, because that shuts down the Cabal Ritual into Necrodominance line. Veil of Summer, Veil of Summer, Veil of Summer, Ponder Brainstorm. Okay. We're going to have to work around some stuff here. I'm going to take the... I think I'm going to take the Brainstorm here. Many Veil of Summers. Not quite as egregious as the multiple Lavinias, but they should be able to marshal these in a way that can mess us up. They're not pondering, so they're just going to hold open Veil of Summer this entire game. Alright, Death Shadow, you are going to be doing some stuff for us today. Do I want to pay 3 life? Probably not. Maybe? No. We'll just play as tapped. So this selection of cards basically tells us our opponent's playing Omnitel. Alright, so we're going to see probably an island into Ponder, I would say here. Yeah, there it is. They did not shuffle. You and permanents you control gain hexproof. Not a big lover of that. I'm going to play this Cellarspawn. So we can't like do the life loss because this does target. They might just cycle a Veil here, just as a card draw. They have plenty of them kicking around, so they might as well. This could also dig them into a response for this. Right, 1 down, 2 to go. What we can try and do is Necrodominance and then like go over the top of what our opponent's doing. Like, so we put something on the stack and then they fail, then we go again. Not feeling spectacular about this. Alright, we got a Force of Will here. Pitching in Omniscience. My read on what our opponent's playing is correct. We have 11 damage in our hand if our opponent gives us an opportunity to fire it off. We do know that there are 2 Veil of Summers that need working with. So after we connect with this, we have lethal in hand if we get the opportunity. I will attack with our Ancient Cellarspawn. I'll cast this Dark Ritual into the One Ring. Another Soul Spike. Okay. Our opponent needs to tap out of all of these Veil of Summers, which is looking increasingly unlikely. But we are still chipping them away. We've got some cards over here. We can play this Trawler out. It's just another threat. So our opponent is low enough that we can beat a Veil of Summer, but we can't beat 2. They're casting a Veil of Summer. Do I respond now? And then they cast Veil of Summer. Yeah, I think we do. So they will Veil of Summer over the top here. And then we will Soul Spike over the top. Alright, we managed to get through the triple Veil of Summer hand. Beautiful. Against our opponent's Omnitel deck. Something that isn't a zero-sum game here is playing our Dauthi Voidwalker out, taking something good from their hand, and putting it under the Dauthi, and then we get it. That is a thing we get to do. I think the Death Shadow is going to be too slow here, so I'm going to replace them with Dauthi Voidwalkers and see how that feels. We could play the Orcish Bowmasters. They do have a lot of cantrips and stuff. We're unlikely to be able to kill their Emeracles and things. Yeah, maybe we want the Bowmasters here. Is it Shadows, or are we splitting Shadows and Shoals? Because we're not going to have that many targets for us. Alright, we'll try that. Intriguing. So we keep this. We get to unmask them. We probably have to play out our land so we can do it around a daze. Okay, they're not going turn 1, that's something. We unmask, pitching the Shadow of Mortality here. Let's just take a peek. And we can play around a potential daze here. Spell Pierce gets us, but whatever. Veil of Summer, obviously pretty good here. But we have to play the cards we have. Emrakul, Force of Will, Spell Pierce, Stock Up. Probably the Stock Up. I think it's the Stock Up. Can't let our opponent get that deep into their deck. Like, we could take the Emrakul, but then they could just find A and B off the Stock Up. It's just a 1-card combo piece. So for the brief while where Dig Through Time was legal, in that brief time where it was legal, like Sneak and Show and secretly Blue-Red Twin, although not a lot of people were aware of it, were like 2 of the very best decks in the format because how easy it was to find A plus B with Dig Through Time. What has our opponent got? Another Stock Up? Another Stock Up, yikes. Stocking up with a bunch of combo pieces in their hand. A little bit worrying for us. I pay 3 life here. And we have a Bowmasters that we can fire off. Maybe we can try and get our opponent here. We'll see. I will just play at end of turn so we can at least start some pressure going. This can bait out various things our opponent has access to. If they have multiple blue cards, they can Force of Will here and then have a Spell Pierce for whatever we do next. So maybe we're supposed to play the Boggart Trawler next turn. Although we need this for a land, I guess it depends what we draw. We could always just Necro into One Ring as our curve. And that is reasonable. Force, pitching, Cunning Wish. That makes their Omniscience slightly worse. They don't have a Cunning Wish to just immediately win the game. Do I want to play through this Spell Pierce by just forcing it out now? And then knowing that we can One Ring next turn? I think that is okay. I don't think they will let this resolve. It's a 3-mana Duress, but we'll take it. Killing Emrakul is not a thing we're particularly good at doing. In previous builds, I ran things like Shroud's Edict. Right, 2 cards. One of them is an Emrakul. I think it's more important here to get this One Ring resolved. So I'm going to take away our opponent's only thing. And then we're going to play the One Ring. And hopefully this situation favours us, because the One Ring is a messed up Magic the Gathering card. Our opponent needs an A and a B to do anything. Do they have another Hedge Maze? No, but they're thinning so that they have less. They shouldn't crack both, though, because they have Brainstorms and things in their deck. They already have a land they don't really need. I would not crack both fetches. I don't mind cracking one there. I don't even think it's like you need to crack either of them, to be honest. Right, so playing out the Trop. And now we're just in One Ring Town. A Necrodominance. Do I even want the Necrodominance? Probably doesn't hurt, does it? Do I Dark Ritual it out? Probably. It's just good practice, isn't it? We have the One Ring burning us down. So we need to not go wild with the amount of cards we draw. I think just 4, just draw up to 5 cards is reasonable. Losing that Soul Spike earlier might come back to bite us. But I think it was right just to make sure that our One Ring resolved. Right, so just draw 4 cards here. I mean, you can draw 5 and discard 1 is obviously fine too. But I think I'm just going to take 4 cards. Okay. We've got some hand disruption. So if our opponent is assembled an A but not a B, then we can strip that from our opponent. We've got the One Ring ticking along. We should be able to replace the One Ring at some point because the design of the One Ring is not great. It means that when you play a One Ring, you inevitably find another One Ring before it kills you. Not the best design for a legendary permanent. A Lotus Petal, they're playing it out. Again, I would keep these cards in hand for Brainstorm myself. Alright, the One Ring. We don't draw for turn because of the Necro. But we do get to draw off of this One Ring. An Ancient Cellarspawn. I will play out a land. Is it worth us Thoughtseizing right now? I don't think so. I think we can't really spare the life at this stage of the game. I'm going to play out Cellarspawn and the Boggart Trawler. I believe if our opponent just show and tells in something next turn, it's not actually that bad for us. Sink into Stupor. Return target spell or non-land permanent. Okay, I'll have this back and I will replay it. So just a little tempo play from our opponent there. But they are not close to going off. I will discard this Thoughtseize. So next time we might be in a situation where we have to Necro so we don't die to our own One Ring. Something like a Stock Up here could actually win the game for our opponent. Actually, could it? They could put an Emrakul into play. Uro, Tide of Nature's Wrath. Okay, wasn't expecting that. It's pretty interesting to see. They're not able... Are they able to? They have one... If they have a fetch land, they can put this into play now. A Brainstorm. So if they'd have kept some of these cards in hand, this Brainstorm would be a lot better. But now this is, look at the top 3, put 1 in your hand. So this Uro is castable next turn. And our One Ring kills us next turn if we tap it, which we're going to do. We didn't come here to not tap our One Ring. An Unmask. I'm going to play this out. I'm going to get this Dauthi Voidwalker down. Then I'm going to unmask my opponent. See if we can put something spicy underneath this. This is interesting, isn't it? Okay, we don't get to unmask anymore. So now what are we doing here? We can play out the Boggart Trawler. We're dead to our own Necro. We're dead to our own One Ring. We can't target our opponent here, which is annoying. So I think we draw 3 cards with this Necro, and then in response with the One Ring next turn, in response to trigger, we draw some more cards and try and dig our way out that way. Or kill our opponent. So we draw 3 cards here. We didn't find anything exciting there. We don't need Thoughtseize. We don't need Thoughtseizes. Probably don't need another Necro here. And we probably don't need a Cabal Ritual. Okay. We've got to dig ourselves out of this one. If they play a Show and Tell, we can put in the One Ring and it cancels our One Ring here. There is the Uro. Pretty good. I can't kill this right now. It's tough. So this trigger goes in the stack. We draw some more cards. So we've got a Veil of Summer. We're dead regardless here. Okay, so we have 1 Sickening Shoal. This Sickening Shoal can deal 17 damage. Is there anything in our opponent's exile that helps here? No, all of these have gone to the Uro. What is the play here? We don't have quite enough damage. I don't think here. If our opponent casts a spell that somehow helps us out, like a Brainstorm digging, we can then Dauthi Voidwalker and get the Brainstorm. So how are we beating this One Ring trigger? These are all... Is it speed? We can't put back the Uro because time restrictions still apply. No, we are just a little bit short there. Alright, we get to be on the play for the last game, which is a nice place to be. I will... How are we sideboarded here? The Dauthi Voidwalker look even better now that we've seen they have an Uro. Maybe the Sickening Shoals are better than the Mortality things. The Mortality only works with the Sickening Shoal. The Sickening Shoal works with our other stuff too. Sometimes we have to target our own creatures, not great. We can't kill anything too big with what we have here, but it can be some free damage here and there. Okay, we have some hand disruption. Being on the play is huge here. I don't mind firing off Thoughtseize and the Unmask pitching Sickening Shoal this turn. Or this, this turn. We might be doing Dauthi Voidwalker on turn 2 with Unmask ready to just get an Emrakul out of our opponent's hand day. Stock up the One Ring, Lotus Petal, Ponder. I quite like the One Ring. Would I like that myself? Do I take the Ponder here? Do I take the stock up? It's one of the two. I think it's the Ponder. And then next turn we can Dauthi and take their One Ring. And they're playing out a pedal, so we can't take it from their hand. Makes sense. Does this change anything? I don't think so. Let's unmask our opponent, pitching this Sickening Shoal. I'm going to take their copy of the One Ring, I believe, here. So we can have a copy of the One Ring next turn if we want it. They get to stock up, which is pretty good. It does cost them the stock up and the Lotus Petal, so it's kind of like a 2 for 2, but it's pretty good in terms of selection. A Boggart Trawler here. Right, let's cast the One Ring here. We've got Force of Will, pitching Lorien Revealed. Okay. And I will cast this Cabal Ritual into Necro. Another Force of Will. I'll play this tap Boggart Bog and we'll carry on with this little merry song and dance. Hedge Maze was their draw for turn, so we still have perfect information. They left the card on top. Oh, is it another stock up? Oh, hello. I'll take a Necrodominance, please. I'll just have 14 cards here and set up for the future. There should be a Soul Spike in here somewhere. There is. Okay, good. Let's get rid of Don't think we need Dauthi or Bowmasters here. And then we go to cleanup. I don't think we need the one ring here, actually. Or do we need the one ring? We don't need 2 lands. Let's get rid of this Fell the Profane. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we can get rid of the Cabal Ritual, and then we can cast this. We can play 2 of these and unmask our opponent. We just need 2 unmasks, really, don't we? So we want to keep Spawn, Ritual. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. And then we have 1 of these. So I guess we don't get to keep the other one. Maybe we don't need the Dark Ritual. We can play this out a touch slower. Okay. They kept a card on top. If they don't play... Okay, it was a Ponder. So they should float the good card on top here. But we play Cellarspawn and hit them for 4. Next turn we hit them for 3 and then 8. And that should be lethal. Stock up. I think we're in a good position. Drawing half your deck kind of does that, I suppose. I would like an Ancient Cellarspawn, please. Ponder Pitching Force. Okay, that's fine. I'll go to the end step and I will draw 2 cards here, I think. We want to use these cards in our hand. I don't want to have to go to discard. Okay. Got another free spell, so we can deal 4 plus 6. So that's 10 damage we have available. I don't really want to Thoughtseize, though. Let's get the Cellarspawn down. Let's have a little looky. Show and tell. Get out of here. And then we'll go to end step and draw 2 cards. I don't believe our opponent can ping us for 1 damage. A Soul Spike. We know this is lethal right now. Boom. Alright, we navigated it and we got there in the end. Pretty cool. We managed to beat the triple Veil of Summerhand in game 1 as well, which is quite nice. So we are 4 rounds in, positive record locked in. We've played 3 games every round, so we're really getting a lot of magic today. Final round can put us to 4-1 if we win it, so let's see if we can. We're on the play, not a bad place to be. We have a different approach this game. We have turn 1 Cellarspawn into Unmask, and then we can work out what we're doing afterwards. So this is definitely a slightly weirder line than I would normally want from my hands, but I think this is okay. We're just like Monoblack Stompy at this point. It is weird wanting to Dark Ritual out our thing and then take a peek at their hand, but that's just the way that this deck seems to operate. What are we going to exile here? I kind of want to keep the land, so I'm going to get rid of this Cabal Ritual. This gives us a free spell and a land still. Okay, we're comboing. Step through, Thassa's Oracle, stock up, stock up. So it's probably one of the stock ups that goes here. Doesn't feel great though. Do love a bit of Lash Gordon action though. So we have a -3. This is 5 damage in hand right now, if we want it. But they're just going to play an island and pass, and then we're going to bash them for 3. And we draw Shadow of Mortality and win. Soul Spike. This is 7 damage plus another 4, so that's 11. So we are 1 away, damage-wise. Like one hit away. You're going to play an Oracle? No. Go attacks here. If they have Force of Negation, we want to play in our opponent's turn here. So I think we play this out. And then in our opponent's upkeep, we will fire off this Soul Spike. Unless they tap out for something here. This is 7 damages, so we have lethal on board, even if this Soul Spike gets countered. Force of Will, pitching step through. Okay. So our opponent's going to be on a low life total. I don't believe they can... Okay, they have a chump blocker. Okay. That's how they're planning on getting through this. They just need to make enough land drops until they can combo off. Right, here comes the Thunder Trap Trainer. We get to see what the card is because it's a non-creature, non-land, so they have to reveal it. So at least we know fully what our opponent's hand is, right? Right, they cycle to step through and they... Okay, no. Okay, Paradigm Shift. So our opponent has the win next turn. It's pretty good. How much does that cost? The full whack. We have no way of reducing our life total here. Actually, no, we're not dead next turn, right? No, we are dead because they put 3 cards in. Yeah, so we're exactly dead next. Oh no, the Thunder Trap Trainer dies, right? So they don't have enough blue count. Okay. So if they cast Paradigm Shift, they die on our turn because we attack for 3. So they have to stock up here, I think. But then what are they finding? Okay, they're playing a chump blocking Oracle. That's obviously a good space for us to be. They can Paradigm Shift after they chump block with this to put this in their deck, and that can be their way of winning. But then they're still going to need to chump block the following turn. And at any point we can draw another black card and win the game here. So this is the matchup where we actively don't want graveyard hate. We want our opponent to have as many cards in their graveyard as possible. Is this a stock up? I don't believe they're going to win this game now. Because what can they have for one potential mana that deals with this? Alright, we got there. We would like to maybe board in the Bowmasters, but I'm not even sure we do want to board in those. Our opponent isn't really drawing extra cards, they're digging. So I think we're just going to go straight in again. Deck's perfect. Hand Disruption is actively good against our opponent's plan. We also have like some of this beatdown plan going on where we can play this and shoal them a bunch. Chrome Mox, alright. They're getting off to a fast start. They could have an Ancient Tomb and just stock up on turn 1. That's pretty solid. Putting a Force of Will underneath it though is pretty high stakes. Alright, so they're going to stock up and then we're going to have a look at their hand and maybe take 2 cards from it. I'm okay to pitch a Sickening Shoal to an Unmask in this situation. See what we draw. Would like some more mana at some point, but that's a problem for later. Let's Thoughtseize. At the very least, this puts more cards in our opponent's graveyard, which is handy. Alright, we got Force of Will, pitching a Paradigm Shift. Alright, out comes the Unmask, pitching a Sickening Shoal. Stock up and Thought Lash. I guess we take the Thought Lash, otherwise I just cast that next turn. If I'm familiar with Thought Lash, it's cumulative upkeep, exile top card of your library, and you can exile top card of your library to prevent the next one damage. So they're going to stock up here and probably undo the damage we've just done to them. And we need to find like a Dark Ritual here. Dark Ritual into Necro is the sort of situation I'd like to be in. Playing out the island. It's over to us. Just play his tapped. If they do a weird pile where they have cards in their library still, we can Sickening Shoal away a creature. We've got another Thought Lash. Okay, so this stops us doing our Dark Rituals, because we can't Dark Ritual through a Chalice. Just keep taking chunks out of our opponent's hand. A Step Through and a Paradigm Shift. Paradigm Shift is not great for our opponent, I don't think. I think I'm going to take the Step Through here. Thundertrap Trainer. So this can't find the half they're looking for, but it can find Step Throughs. And we'll have perfect information on our opponent's hand because this is revealed. So we'll know if we can play this Necro or Ancient Cellarspawn if we draw something that's relevant. A Step Through, sure. So they have the ability to go and find their guy. A Cabal Ritual. I would like to Cabal Ritual. I would like to cast a Necrodominance. I'm going to pay 17 life, I think. Okay, I did the wrong priority pass there. That's good. Okay, so one swamp is the most amount of swamps we want. So we can get rid of all the other lands. We don't need any Necros, so they can go. We don't need the One Ring to win with this hand. We don't need the Thoughtseize here. We don't need like Sickening Shoal. So if we go Cellarspawn, Sickening Shoal, that is lethal. So this selection of cards, so land, Cellarspawn, this and this, is lethal. So what do we need? We get rid of any 1-drops. That's another thing we can get rid of while we're here. We don't need all of these guys. Can we... We can't unmask our way through here, can we? So we don't want this ritual, we don't want this. I should have kept this Soul Spike, really. I should have... I passed priority in an annoying way. That means I don't get to do the thing I want to do. So I guess we keep the Soul Spike. We should have Soul Spiked to end step, but I pressed 2 instead of 1 to pass priority earlier, and that just sends you through your whole turn, which was my mistake. We should have got 4 life back here. This could cost us the game, though. We'll see. They didn't step through at end of turn, which is odd. What is their one mystery card? I would love to see them play a land out here. Okay, wizard cycling time. Do they have a wizard that pings us for 2 damage? I hope not. Another Thundertrap Trainer. Okay, so they still have a mystery card in hand here. Sink into Stupor. They don't have the mana to use this, though. So they have Paradigm Shift, Sink into Stupor, and a mystery card. Let's play the Cellarspawn. If this resolves, we win. Okay. Because it doesn't matter if they counterspell this. X equals 15. So this is 17 damage to the dome. Alright, we got the match. And that is the end of the league. And we finished with a pretty tasty 4-1. We were only one game away as well because we split the one we lost 2-1. So yeah, let's talk about the deck. I've been very impressed when I've been experimenting with this deck. It seems quite explosive and does some cool stuff. What we did in this particular build is we had the Shadow and the Shadow, so both of the Shadows. We had these as the additional things that we're trying to do instead of something like a Shouldered and some more removal. When the format is quite creature heavy, I've played this with lots of removal in so that we can just, so we have like more Fell the Profanes and stuff like that, so we can just get our opponent dead, like kill their creatures and use this to sort of gain life and get back into the game. I have really liked Shouldered though, because Shouldered plus Necrodominance is pretty filthy, and obviously it's pretty good with a 1 ring and offsets it. We did lose a game to our own 1 ring. I think that was the only round we lost actually as well, if I remember rightly. No, I think it was a different round, wasn't it? But anyway, so how do I feel about these Shadows? They did come down and do some stuff, and the Shadow of Mortality being a big thing that gets to dome stuff is really good, and this also costs less on its own for the purposes of Ancient Cellarspawn. So I'm a supporter of Shadow of Mortality in this list. I think the Death Shadow is the more questionable part of things. I don't know if I still want to play Death Shadow. Like, it was okay in some situations, but in those situations, like there was one where we played out a couple of Shadows and stuff, I think a Shouldered would have been just as good. So I'm not really convinced on this particular slot of 4 cards. So I think this is where we could maybe look to tweak. We did get a little bit stuck under lands a couple of times, so there is an argument to maybe just run some more, so we could split this into 2 more lands that are also spells. So have another Boggart Trawler, another Fell the Profane, because what that allows us to do is have black cards, including one that costs 4 mana, and also it's removal and it's graveyard hate, so it kind of does everything we need it to. And then maybe the two Shadows could just be 2 Shouldereds. Like, yes, Shadow of Mortality doesn't really want you to have like a load of life gain going on, but the Shadow of Mortality is most of the time getting pitched to stuff anyway, or, you know, sometimes we'll cast it cheap and dome our opponent for a bunch. But yeah, I quite like this version of the build. I don't like people who aren't playing the 1 ring. Well, I don't like their builds. Nothing against the people themselves. But I think the 1 ring is just too powerful a card to not be playing in a shell like this. It does exactly what we want. We just want to keep drawing a bunch of cards and throwing our resources out. Cruel Bargain is 3 mana, so it's black, black, black for 4 cards immediately, but it costs you half your life. The 1 ring is 1 mana more, but it gives you Time Walk for a turn. It draws you basically the same amount of cards after 1 turn cycle, because 3 cards and 4 cards isn't the biggest difference. And it doesn't cost you half of your life total. And then every turn afterwards that you have this in play, it's just so much better. The one downside is this does not pitch to our spells. But that's why the rest of our deck is black cards, right? We don't want to have non-black cards unless they're really good. And the 1 ring is the definition of really good. Another thing we could also play is Troll of Khazad-dûm. I've played that before because it pitches to 6 on the Sickening Shoal, but it's also a land that we can then like cycle for. But it is a little bit expensive because it costs us mana to make a land drop, whereas something like this costs us life. So maybe I actually do prefer the Trolls over these, thinking about it, because the Trolls being a 6 drop in black is kind of relevant. And maybe there are situations where we get to Ritual out. It does give our opponent something to reanimate, but generally we're going to beat a reanimated Troll Clock anyway, so that's not really an issue. Sideboard-wise, I think it's fine. I don't necessarily like the Null Rod because of the fact that we are a 1 ring deck, but I'm not sure what we play instead of it. I don't think we're like playing Mindbreak Traps. I have played Mindbreak Traps in this deck, and that is something. It is also a free spell, so sometimes you get some damage off the Cellarspawn, so you could run that. You could run just some more hand disruption. It's probably reasonable as well. I don't know, there's definitely some option. I think this is the questionable slot. In terms of the Bowmasters and Voidwalker, they were fine. They didn't really feel great. Like the Voidwalker's hate was fine, and the Bowmaster is something that our opponent has to respect. Was fine. I don't have a problem with this sideboard, apart from the Null Rod maybe. It was fine. I might mix it up next time I try. I think I would like to get some Shoulders back in the deck because they felt really good. But I think the rest of the deck is pretty much like locked in at this point. Like, you need to have your Unmasks and your Thoughtseizes. You need your 8 Rituals, I've decided as well at this point. Obviously, you need your 8 draw effects. You need your Soul Spikes. You need your Sickening Shoals. So the other card that we're missing here is March of Wretched Sorrow, which is a card I've quite enjoyed, because that gives us a way of pitching a bunch of cards to gain a bunch of life. So maybe 2 March of Wretched Sorrow. Do I want them instead of Shouldered? Maybe. Because that just allows you, if you've got 1 mana spare, when you do your thing, you can just, any of the excess cards you're not getting just become life for you, and that is really handy. And you can pump a bunch of cards into it and drain with a Cellarspawn. So maybe them, because they are also ways that we can deal with things like Lavinia. Oh, that's the round we lost, wasn't it? The main deck Lavinia round. Ugh. All right. But yeah, I think you can mess around with these slots, but I would not touch this selection of the deck. So I think you've got 8 slots to wiggle around with, but the rest of it is just spot on. You could reduce the Sickening Shoals if you're running March of Wretched Sorrow. So maybe one of these Sickening Shoals is flexible. That's about it. I think this deck is really sweet. You will obviously see it again on the channel at some point. I do enjoy playing this and sort of working through the different builds, and it feels very powerful. Will the One Ring be legal this time next week? I hope not, personally. And then maybe we go back to Cruel Bargain and see how the deck feels with the Cruel Bargains. But I'm not sure Wizards of the Coast will ban the One Ring. I think they definitely should. And if they don't ban it now, they'll ban it in the future. But we may as well play the busted card while we can, especially since we're playing in something quite fun. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.